Okay, so good day everyone. At this moment of time, I'm here to talk about the ethical considerations in fiscal management. But first, let me introduce myself. I am Janice Rigon, and let's proceed to our discussion, which mainly concerns ethical dilemmas. So, I assume that we all encountered ethics subject in our undergraduate studies, and the goal of that subject is for us to determine our ethical responsibility to oneself, our society, and our environment. So, we are then expected to be a moral agent who is shaped and dictated upon by many factors. As we get older, like we are more expected a to have or practice the mature rational thinking and courageous decision making. All right, so let's formally start with exploring ethical dilemmas and decision making in school financial management. So, what we have here is or are the ethical dilemmas commonly encountered in school financial management. First is the ethical dilemma concerned with budget allocation, involved in balancing limited resources and meeting diverse needs. Next is on procurement, where we have to ensure fair and transparent processes for vendor selection. Third, we have financial reporting. So, the ethical dilemma in maintaining accurate and reliable financial records. And last but probably not the least, we have fundraising ethics. So, where we have to ensure ethical practice in soliciting and using the funds. So, these are just some of the commonly encountered ethical dilemmas in fiscal management. All right, so when we think of ethical dilemmas, it means we have to choose among options which have certain considerations on its results, right? So it is about choosing the one with less evil result or the one with greater good result. So we are ethically speaking here, and such ethical dilemmas calls for decision making, and it is a must for us teachers or future managers of schools to be well informed before making decisions. So here we have the guide steps on the decision making process. So first is, yes, to gather information. So collecting relevant data and facts about the ethical dilemma. This is very important. Next is to identify alternatives. So we have to explore different options and courses of actions, of course. Then we should assess the consequences. Of course, we have to consider beforehand the potential outcomes and impact of each alternatives or choices that we have in mind. And then the moment of making the decision. So this means choosing the most ethical and appropriate course of action. And that is not the end. We still have to implement and evaluate our decisions or actions and reflect on its effectiveness, or maybe the other way around. Okay, so now let's be specific and let's identify the ethical principles in school financial management. First and foremost is the principle of transparency. We have to ensure the openness and clarity in the financial process and reporting. Next is the principle of accountability, wherein we have to take responsibility for financial decisions and actions. And of course, we have the principle of integrity, as we have to uphold honesty, fairness, and ethical conduct in each and every financial practices. Okay, so Let's further have the strategies for ethical decision making. So these are just some of the strategies and best practices for effectively addressing ethical dilemmas in school financial management. So first is establishing ethical guidelines. So developing clear policies and procedures that promote ethical behavior. And for professional development, this is providing training and resources to enhance ethical decision making skills. And another is collaboration with stakeholders, engaging administrators, finance officers, and board members in ethical discussions and decision making processes. So these three are the best practices that is um, recommendable. Yes. So the now here is a case study, and we are to apply the steps of decision making provided earlier. So for this case study is on is a budget allocation dilemma. So for the background, a school district is facing a budget shortfall and the finance committee must make difficult decisions regarding the allocation of funds. They need to balance the needs of different schools within the district while ensuring fairness and equity. So the ethical dilemma here is is that the finance committee must decide whether to allocate a larger portion of the budget to a school located in an affluent neighborhood that already has ample resources or to a school in an unprivileged area that lacks necessarily educational materials and support. Okay, so proceeding to the application of ethical tours. So for transparency, so the finance committee must provide clear explanations of the budget allocation process, ensuring that stakeholders understand how decisions are made. Yes, of course. And for accountability, the committee members must take responsibility for their decisions, ensuring they are made in the best interest of all students within the district. Yes. And next is for integrity. The committee must act with integrity by considering the equitable distribution of resources, avoiding favoritism, and addressing the needs of disadvantaged students. And for the resolution, so the finance committee decides to allocate a larger portion of the budget to the school in the underprivileged area, aiming to provide necessary resources and support students who face educational disadvantages. So this decision aligns with the ethical principle of fairness, equity, and integrity. Okay, so another, let's have another case study, which is involved with procurement ethics. So for the background, a school is in the process of selecting a vendor for a major technology upgrade project. So several vendors have submitted proposals, and the school administration must make a decision that ensures, of course, the principle of transparency, fairness, and value for money. Okay, so the ethical dilemma here is one of the vendors has a personal connection with a school administrator. While their proposal seems promising, there is a potential conflict of interest that could compromise the integrity of the procurement process. Okay, so in the application of ethical theories for transparency, so the school administration must ensure an open and transparent process for vendor selection, including clear evaluation, criteria, and documentation of the decision-making process. Yes, and for accountability, the administrator must be accountable for their actions and disclose the personal connection with the vendor to avoid any appearance of impropriety. And for integrity, the school administration should prioritize integrity by treating all vendors fairly, avoiding preferential treatment, and selecting the vendor based on merit and value of money. Okay, so the resolution for this ethical dilemma. So the school administration discloses the personal connection with the vendor to the appropriate stakeholders, such as the procurement oversight committee or school board. Okay, so the administrator recuses themselves from the decision-making process, and an impartial evaluation committee evaluates the proposal based on objective criteria, ultimately selecting the vendor that offers the best value for money. Okay, so based upon the case studies, we um, I believe that we see um, the integration of the principles that we must have in mind as we participate or practice fiscal management, and we always have to have that principle of transparency, accountability, and integrity. Okay, so let's proceed. So here is the significance of upholding ethical standards in school financial management. So by adhering to these ethical principles, schools can build trust and credibility with stakeholders, including students, parents, staff, and the community. The schools can demonstrate responsible and ethical stewardship of financial resources, and the schools can ensure equitable and transparent allocation of funds, promoting fairness and avoiding favoritism. And of course, the schools can uphold ethical behavior as a fundamental value, creating a positive organizational culture. And for the application, so by adhering to these ethical principles, as we um, um, as we did on the two case studies earlier, so schools can, with transparency, schools can provide accessible and easily understandable financial reports to the school community, showing detailed breakdowns of income, expenses, and investment decisions. And for accountability, schools can establish a process for reviewing and approving financial decisions, ensuring that multiple individuals are involved in the decision-making process to prevent undue influence or bias. So collaboration is also is really a must rather. Okay, so integrity. For integrity, schools can develop a code of ethics that outlines ethical expectations for financial decision making and provide training to staff on ethical practices and decision making processes. Okay, so that is all. And if you have misunderstood or not, or you find it difficult to understand, you can just review this video that I made. And again, thank you so much and good luck, everyone.